Hello everyone. So this is another video using a new artist. It's all on Photoshop. I will share this with you now, and so you can see what artist it's going to be. So here it is on Pinterest. Right. So what happens is this is on from my Pinterest. That's uh, M. Peterson, Mr. Peterson, sorry. You should have that link already. And what happens is this is one that lots of you guys use or can use, and it's very, very simple. And I will go over that now. So I will stop sharing that one, and I will share a new one. And here we are on Photoshop. Okay. So what happens is this is a photo of that I've taken of my hand. You can use your phone. You iPads are right, but phones are better. But for both phone or iPad, you want to have as much light as possible. So try to do this outside. Inside, it'll come out nasty. When you do photos of with your phone or your iPad inside, then it cranks down the aperture and you'll get grainy, nasty pictures. It will crank down the ISO. That's why it goes grainy, and it just gets nasty really quick because it's all on automatic. And if you do it outside, all those things increase the ISO, and it all just starts getting bigger. The aperture gets smaller, and so it gets a better focal depth, blah, 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 blah. Just everything's better, more light, more light, more light, always. And outside is bloody perfect. So I've taken a photo of my hand. I have also got a couple of images that I've taken of pieces of paper that I've ripped up. So how I've ripped this up is just get my car keys, and I've just gone and ripped it across a piece of paper, and it makes these rips. So what we're doing first is we're taking one of these images. I'm actually going to use this one for now. And I've got the select tool up the side here, and I'm selecting that thing. Why is it not doing the whole thing? That's peculiar. And then I am going edit, copy, and I am pasting it onto here. Now, first thing we're going to do is I'm going to unlock that here, and I go up to this one over here, and I'm going to go new layer, and I'm going to make a new layer up on here, and then I go edit, paste, and here is the thing I've just copied it over and brought it over. Right, now, your move tool is up here. And so when you go off to one side here, you can see the little arrows turn to this little curve, and that means you can tilt it around and get it how you want. So you can move this around, you get it big, get it small, you do whatever you like. Now, at the moment, it's a little bit hard to see. So here's a trick, and I think I've showed you in one of your other videos, is that you can go over to this layer, you've got your opacity over here, and you can crank that down to just before halfway, and what happens is then you can actually line it up. You can actually see what the two things together. Now, Photoshop will be trying to be friendly, and when I try to move that around, it's gonna move the bottom layer. So you've got your little arrow buttons on your keypad, and you should be able to move these up and down, and be able to get it how you want. So you can make it bigger, smaller, all that kind of stuff. I'm going to make it quite big because the artist model puts words in underneath, and that's what we're going to do. So I'm going to make a nice big one there. Move it up a bit. That looks good. All right, cool. So then we turn our opacity all the way back up because it's going to look mean there. And there is our piece of paper over the top, and you can see how it's going to look good. Right, so the next tool that we're going to use is the eraser tool. That's this one over here. Hold it down, make sure it's just the normal eraser tool. What I'm going to do is I have got the wrong settings on here, so I go up to here. So if this happens that you don't have all the eraser tools, maybe because I've half minimized the window, we go window, workspace, and I'm going to go to photography, and there they are. They'll jump up there. So that's a little trick there, window, workspace, and just change it into something else, and it does, it gives you different options. All right, cool. So first up, we're going to have the hardness all the way down to 0 because we want a nice soft edge on our eraser. We're going to get that eraser pretty big. If also, by the way, if this doesn't come up, it is because you have caps lock on. Caps lock on just goes to a small thing there, hit caps lock, and you can actually see how big your window is. Sorry, your brush is. So that's what we got. So I'm working on this top layer here. I'm rubbing out. I'm going to crank that all the way up to 100%. I'm rubbing out my piece of paper to show my hand underneath. All right, so what happens is I'm going to do this very fast and ugly. You're going to take your time. So when you get close to the edge of a piece of paper, that you can crank down the opacity so you get more control, and that way you can just fade it in better. All right, so it's down about 30% there. You can go down to about 20 or underneath 20, and you just get lots more control. Now, this is the piece of paper I had at home. If you can actually get a brown piece of paper, I know I've got them at school, but we're not at school. So brown piece of paper works even better because it's closer to the skin tone, but a white piece of paper will still look pretty good. And that's actually also what the artist model does. So anyway, I am going to very, 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 very quickly just make a big old mess of this thing. And you guys are going to take your time, but I'm just going to rub this stuff out. I'll make that bigger so you don't have to watch me doing the whole bloom thing. And I cannot be bothered editing the video either because I'm lazy. And so you guys can just get the idea. There you go. So I've rubbed all that out. Okay, cool. So what happens then is we've got the rip there on our skin. It looks pretty good. Looks pretty good already. And you can imagine, just like the artist model, you could get photos where you've got one hand up and the other hand is pulling down so it looks like it's tearing, like the artist model. There's all kinds of different things you could do. Now, so what we're doing then is we've got the two layers there, and we have to merge those two layers first before we can rub out and have our writing or whatever underneath. So I'll click up here, and we go to merge visible. All becomes one layer. Now what it means is that I can get in here and I can use the same tools, rubbing out again. I'm going to have to make that a lot smaller. And here's my zoom tool. So just down here, and oops, I missed. There you go. And what I'm doing is rubbing out this one here. Now, you see how those hairs are coming through? That's because I accidentally went over the top of the eraser, so that's a little bit rubbed out. It's going to look probably more like this one over here, where it's actually the piece of paper on top, but it's right for now. I was doing it fast and horrible, so that's fair enough. So what we're going to do is I'm rubbing out this in here and making a hole underneath. Now, because I've turned the lock off, you get that little hexagon kind of a look. And so what happens is I can rub that out. Another way of doing this, if you don't want to do it by hand, it looks better by hand, but if you don't want to do it by hand, you can hold down on your eraser, go to Magic Eraser tool, and you can click on this and it'll go. Now, the tolerance up here, at the top here, is whatever pixel I click, it clicks 32 pixels within color range of that tolerance. So if too much is rubbing out, change it down to like 10 or 5, whatever. But there you go. It clicks on it and it all goes. We'll click this one as well. All right, cool. So there's my hole. And so what happens is I can now put a new image underneath. The artist model had writing. That's what they did, but we could put words, we could put patterns, we could put flags, we could put electronic circuit boards or anything you wanted underneath there. So one of the things we're going to do slightly first is we're going to look at rips. This one's probably the better rip. Now you can see that the edge there is got a little bit of a shadow because the paper is a shadow on top of a thing there, which is in this case a tabletop. And so what happens is we're going to make 2 extra layers. One layer where we're going to put our shadow on, and the next layer is going to be our object, whatever it happens to be. I'll just grab something random. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to open up something weird. Here we go. How about this? And so we're going to put this underneath. Okay, so I'm going back to my here, and I go up to this one over here, and I go new layer, and I go okay. And so here's a new layer, and I'm grabbing that one. You can see it's gray here, grabbing that and putting it underneath. And I'm going to do exactly the same thing here, because I said before, we're going to do 2 layers. So here's our 2 layers underneath this one here. And if it's the stage you go, oh, I'm getting lost, you can click on that one there, double click, it's a double click, and we'll call this one shadow. So we know, hit enter, there you go, there's my shadow, and you can get in here and type background, whatever. So I'm working on the background here, and I am getting the crazy thing, and I'm going edit, copy, going back to my layer, this is my background, and I'm going edit, paste, there's my background. At this stage, I can go to the move tool, make it as big as I like, move it around, do whatever the heck I like. Okay, so there it is underneath here. Now, it looks a little bit fake because like the one I showed you before, it needs to have a shadow, and that's what we're going to do on here. Now, shadows are not black. You can see here the shadow on my skin is actually just a darker version of the skin tone. All right, it's not black shadow, it's a darker version of it. So if you're looking at a blue jersey, you're going to have a darker blue shadow. You're not going to have black. So what we're going to do is, going back to our background, I'm going to get my pick tool. This is the pick tool over here. I'm going to pick up a piece of that color with the pick tool, and you'll see it turn up down here. So here we go. I'm going to pick on that. There you go. It's got the brown there. I'm now going to click on this one here, and it brings up this palette here. So if I want it lighter, I go towards this way. If I want to go darker, I go down towards this. So I'm that's my color I picked up. I'm going to go down towards the black, get a darker version of it. There you go. You can see that there. And now I've got a darker version of it. Right. Going back to my shadow, I'm just going to get my paintbrush here. I am going to make it nice and soft edges. I'm going to have it relatively big, but I'm definitely going to crank down the opacity way down, right? That's about 12%, so I can have lots of control. I'm then going to paint in, and so this is my shadow layer, so it's underneath my arm, on top of my thing, and I'm going to paint in a shadow. So the light's coming from the top there, so I'm putting a shadow in underneath. You can do it lots and lots of times, so you have that control. You can see there it's slowly getting darker. But what it means is, because I didn't go too hardcore, it's only on 12%, I actually have lots of control. You can see there the depth is starting to happen. It really starts looking like the skin's peeled up, and there's something strange underneath my skin. All right, so here you go. You can see this part darkening up quite nicely there. All right, the secret is don't go hardcore with the opacity, this one up here, because you want to have that control. So you have that amazing shadow. There you go. That's looking really 3D. And again, I'll just go, I'll rush it and make it ugly, just so you guys can see the finished product. There you go. Okay, so there you go. So you've got your top layer there that's got the holes. You've got your shadow underneath, and you've got your picture underneath that. And then the trick to bring it over, because they're all different layers at the moment, is that you've got to do the whole thing of merging those layers. So it's up to this little button up here. Merge visible, we did that before, and now you can select the whole thing, copy it, and paste it over to your board. So I hope that has been helpful. If you want a different artist model, please email me and I'll be able to do that for you. Thank you.